Hi everybody. Welcome to our channel, The Scary Tales. Our scary and horror stories are designed to send chills down your spine. Enjoy the spine-tingling stories thrill. Here's your horror stories about cursed hotel room. 1. Room 303, the endless guest. James, a weary business traveler, checks into room 303 at the Riverside Grand Hotel. It's an old establishment with dim lighting and faded carpets. Exhausted, he collapses onto the bed. At 3:03 a.m., a loud knocking startles him awake. When he checks the peephole, the hallway is empty. Assuming it's a prank, he goes back to sleep. But the next night, it happens again, 3 knocks, always at 3:03 a.m. Determined to catch the culprit, he sets up his phone camera. The next morning, he checks the footage. The screen shows a shadowy figure standing at his door, knocking repeatedly. But then, his own face appears on the figure, terrified, begging for help. Freaked out, he rushes downstairs. The hotel manager turns pale when James tells him his room number. "Sir, there is no room 303. That floor was sealed off after a guest disappeared there in 1993. 2. The room that checks itself in. A boutique hotel in New Orleans frequently receives a reservation under the name Mr. White. There's no record of a credit card or ID, but the system keeps checking him in automatically. One night, a housekeeper enters the vacant room to clean. The chair is rocking as if someone had just gotten up. The TV plays a black and white news broadcast from 1963, but when she tries to change the channel, the remote doesn't work. Panicked, she rushes out and tells the front desk. When they check the hotel logbook, they find something disturbing. Mr. White was a real guest who died in that very room in 1963. His name has been appearing in the system ever since. 3. Room 1919, the Whispering Walls. A woman named Lisa books a weekend stay at an upscale hotel in Chicago. She's assigned room 1919, which seems normal at first, until she notices something off. At night, the walls seem to breathe. Whispers echo from the corners of the room, too faint to understand. Thinking it's the neighbors, she complains to the front desk. But the receptionist frowns. "Ma'am, there are no other guests on the 19th floor. In fact, we don't have a 19th floor." Lisa runs back to her room, only to find her luggage missing, her bed perfectly made, and the lights off, like she was never there at all. 4. The mirror in room 214. David, a solo traveler, checks into room 214 at a remote countryside inn. A large antique mirror stands across from the bed, its surface strangely warped. That night, David notices something unsettling. His reflection moves slower than him, blinking when he isn't, grinning when he frowns. On the second night, he wakes up to see his reflection standing beside his bed, watching him sleep. Terrified, he tries to remove the mirror. When it comes loose, he finds a hidden doorway behind it, leading to a bricked-up room. Hotel staff later reveal that the mirror was placed over the old servants' quarters, where a maid was trapped and starved to death. 5. The room that calls for help. A front desk employee at a New York hotel receives a frantic call from room 407. A woman is screaming, "Help me, please." Security rushes upstairs, but when they unlock the door, the room is empty, covered in dust, and has been unoccupied for years. Disturbed, the staff dig into the hotel's history and uncover an old report in 1975. A woman named Claire was attacked in room 407, but her body was never found. Some believe she's still trapped between worlds, endlessly calling for help. 6. Room 666, the one that burns. A London hotel bans guests from staying in room 666, but one reckless traveler, Mark, bribes his way in for the thrill. At 3:00 a.m., he wakes up to a burning sensation on his arms and legs. When he turns on the light, blackened handprints cover his skin. The air is thick with the smell of smoke and burning flesh. In horror, he checks the walls, only to see faces pressing against the wallpaper, mouths open in silent screams. He runs out, but later discovers that the hotel was built over a church that burned down centuries ago, with the priest still inside. Room 666 was built directly over the altar where the fire started. 7. Room 512, the guest who never leaves. A hotel in Miami keeps receiving complaints from guests staying in room 512. They report hearing the shower running by itself, the TV switching to static, and the sound of wet footprints pacing the room. When a guest finally investigates, he wakes up to see a man standing at the foot of his bed, drenched and staring blankly. Later research reveals that in 1952, a guest drowned in the hotel pool, but his body was never found. Some say he never left. 8. The room with no key. At an inn in Vermont, there's a door at the end of the hall with no keyhole, no handle, just the number 000. Guests report hearing scratching and breathing from behind it at night. One man, curious, places his ear against the wood. A cold whisper repeats his name. The next morning, he wakes up with deep scratches down his arms. The hotel owner later reveals that the door was sealed shut over a century ago, after a guest was found clawing at the walls from the inside, trying to escape. 9. Room 404. No one stays twice. Travelers who book room 404 wake up gasping, convinced they're buried alive. The air feels heavy, and the walls seem to close in. One guest, desperate to understand why, rips up the carpet, and discovers hollow floorboards. Beneath them is an airless chamber. An old contractor finally confesses during renovations, a worker was sealed inside the walls, alive. 10. The room that knows your secrets. A journalist checks into a roadside motel, getting room 327. At midnight, a voice whispers his deepest, most personal secrets, things no one should know. The next morning, he finds a note on the nightstand. We all have secrets, now you know mine, too. The ink is still wet. But when he asks the receptionist, she looks confused. Sir, that room has been vacant for years. The end.